If you want your WRX to have a fitment like this car, low but not too low, still comfortable, the best way to do that is with these Whiteline springs. They're lowering springs. They have a really good stance to them. Sometimes when you do lowering springs, you don't get enough low in the rear, in my opinion, and the Whiteline for this VB platform, I feel like they chose the heights really, really well, no matter what wheel and tire setup you have. So I'll have a link in the description. Just by clicking it or even purchasing from it is the best way and free way for you to support what we do to keep making content like this. So we really appreciate you. Let's unbox it, install them, and show you the final look again, and have a blast together wrenching on this car. In this box we have the Whiteline Performance lowering springs. They have a nice silver color, a little metallic powder coat to them. You've got a logo there. Those are the rears. Then on the front we have some rubber insulators on here for noise and so they don't bind. Comes with a cool little suspension tuning guide that shows you camber, caster toe, roll center, spring, sway bar, tire PSI, how to decrease understeer in four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. It tells you what to do, so you can learn a lot from this. Pretty cool. These springs will drop the car, according to the specifications, about 1 inch. So we'll see once they settle how the car looks, and we know that it will feel a lot more aggressive and start to handle a lot better. All right, let's pull the wheels off. I think they're 19. First thing we're gonna do is take a 19 with some leverage, with a ratchet that has enough leverage, this long one. And then I'm gonna get this started by getting these loose. Both of them, both the nuts. The top one does have a washer and the bottom one does not. Now there's enough downward pressure on this that it's not gonna spin the bolt, so I can just freely take off these nuts as well as this washer. Now that can stay there for a second. Anything will work, but I have this little plastic pry tool. If you come in here on the ABS line, there's a section of it right here. You press inward and be gentle with it. It's gonna be dried out plastic most likely. And you're gonna hear it click, and then you're gonna pull it out, and it's gonna let that ABS line come out, and this will open up. This is free. Go 12 mil on the back side here for your brake line, just to get it out of the way. Slides right out, and then you're free. Put a 17 on that header. Come on in on the sway bar end link. Should wrap right off. There is a Allen here if you need to hold it if it spins inside the ball joint, but we are good. So I'm gonna put this nut on here so I don't lose it. And then I'm gonna take my ABS line. I'm gonna work it over the top, get it out of the way. I'm gonna push in to get these bolts to move, slide it out, and then I'm gonna have to lift with my hips. And if you're on the ground on jack stands, you could easily use your knee or a jack. I'm just gonna wiggle it until I'm gonna slowly let this out. Let that chill out of the way, nothing's getting yanked on. You should mark this with a paint marker before. So on the top bolt, there's a bunch of lines, and you could mark the outside of the shock, but this one only fits in the top. If you compare the bottom to the top, they're different shape. This is an alignment bolt. I've never seen this. So when you put it in here and rotate it, it's adjusting the camber in and out. So I will get the car aligned, but next time I might have been able to avoid possibly a alignment with just lowering springs like this. So keep in mind, top and bottom are different, and this is an alignment one. I'm gonna hold the whole strut assembly from below, and Parker's gonna take these 14 mils off, and then I'm gonna catch it. All right, you're good. Then we'll head over to the bench. The bench is where things can get intimidating if you've never worked on cars, but just follow along, trust the process. And these spring compressors, don't be scared of them. You can rent these from O'Reilly's or AutoZone. They're a McPherson strut spring compressor set, or I'll have them linked in our standard massive Amazon list of common tools we use. I use these all the time. People are scared of these. You use them properly, and if you're not being dumb, they're not scary at all. So kind of the theory is I like to start with standing it up and find the two highest points that I'm still gonna have access to the bolts. So I got this one started up here. That's good, that's good, that's good. Then you can put the lockers on it. So it's like this one's pressed up against here. I have access to this bolt. This has a place to go down here. So I have it on first and third. So now we need to find the closest next best point of leverage as even across from it as possible while still having access to the bolt. I would just do right here, Park. Just do those. As long as one side has a ton of leverage, that's usually enough. So Parker's gonna snug this up quite a bit. Okay, go ahead and go a lot. Okay, so then we're gonna come over here. That's good. So this is pretty much free, and I'm gonna start working on it. So up top, this is where it's nice and you absolutely need a pass-through socket set or a go-through socket set. This is from Harbor Freight. This is also on our Amazon list. So what this looks like is we have a 17 mil pass-through ratchet. So that's gonna go up top here and leave access to the center, which is a 6mm Allen head that goes in right here. I have a little ball end. So since this is probably pretty seized, I have a 17 mil regular socket. I like to get it started to kind of break some of that debris loose, and then I'll put this up here. Now I want to loosen the bolt and I want to tighten the actual Allen head so they go against each other. So then I'll work it loose like this. I want to show you something. Right here you can see a gap from the nut to the actual shock. That means that you have the spring compressed enough. You are safe. So I'm going to continue going. If that was not a gap there, I would need to compress the spring more. Now that I'm almost there, I'm gonna lower this on its side and then just work these together. See, I just had just a little bit of tension on there. So now the spring can slide off, pull your covers through, slide this back on so you don't have to worry about it, and now we can take this off. All right, so I wanna get this off evenly, so let's do the side that's closer together. A little bit. Go to the other side, a little bit. Now you just want to pull your safety pins out and then pull this off. Boom, stock one's off. So we have our new spring from Whiteline, and it's important that you understand that the base of it needs to go against this stopper right here. Cool. So then while it's standing up and while this is hypothetically on here, I can start planning out where I'm gonna have my spring compressors. So I'm gonna slide this one in here. This one will work like so. So I'm gonna put my safety deals on. I'm gonna take this and snug it up. Okay, cool, so that's gonna stay in place. I like the placement of that. Everything's where it needs to be. So then I'm gonna go here. And this spring is really lopsided when you go to install it, and you do have to compress it quite a bit. So you're gonna think, well, that's crazy. This is getting sketchy. Like, remain calm. This is gonna pull it over. Okay, so now it's not sketchy as possible. So I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna see, okay, how close am I to getting some thread up here to get this off? And I'm not close enough. So this is all the way tightened. The only thing I can adjust is here, which kind of pulls it one way, but it is what it is. Okay, so I got a little bit of room. Gonna mess up my geometry momentarily, but I'm gonna force it. It's still not there. Okay, so I just need to go back over here. And then you're thinking, holy crap, Cam, what are you thinking? Just, it's all good, everything's fine. Okay, now I have enough to get this nut on, so I'm gonna come up here. You can't do this by yourself. Boom, one finger, little finesse. All right, it's spun enough to get started. So I'm gonna take my pass through, get it the opposite way to tighten it, loosen the center one. Then I'm gonna tighten this down. Ugh. Okay, so that just needs to be tight, nothing fancy there. Now we just carefully release this. I'm making sure that this is still in place, which it is. A little bit on this side. This one's all the way loose. Perfectly in place. This can rotate up top. We are good to go. Parker's got the nuts for the top ready. I'm going to align this down here, see if I can do my job. So I'm gonna rotate this and start getting this lined up. Tightening the top nuts. Getting them all snug evenly, and then it'll tighten them down. So alignment one up top, our washer, then a nut, then we got the bottom bolt. Our brake line is gonna slide it behind there, we'll get that ready. Before you clip in the ABS line, slide it over your end link and then have that in its position ready to go. Then you can slide the ABS line in and clip it in. And then you can take your nut that you put away so you don't lose it back into your strut. And then on the other side where you can't see, I'm just putting the nut back on, and it's a 17. And you can tighten it.
Got a 12mm bolt back here from the back to tighten your brake line. Gucci, just get her nice and snug.
All right, cool. We're gonna get to the rear section. I got get stuff out of the way. Right up in here, we have access to those bolts. Those look like 14s. Do open and wrench. Ratcheting, we'll loosen those first. See if I was right the first time. 14. 14 indeed. Break it loose and then finish it by hand. And where did that just go? Okay, those are losable, so don't do that. We'll go over here. Go over to the passenger side, do the same thing. It's very obvious when you go to do it what's what.
There it is too.
I got all 4 out. The next step is to go up underneath. We're gonna take off this bolt on the lower control arm, this one for the strut, and then this one for our sway bar end link. So 17 mil wrench on the back side. Parker's gonna wrap off the other side. We're gonna drop every single nut on the floor as a back exercise. Because these are full on like struts that are all one piece, you don't have to worry about them flinging off. They're not gonna like fly and hit you in the face or anything. And then next we're gonna grab a 14mm for this. I already have the wrench, so I'm gonna go on the back side. Now we can pull this down and fully pull our entire strut assembly out, and then we're gonna hit the bench and put some spring compressors on this. Same exact thing as the front, but the Allen head is a 5 for the top hat right here. This one is a 5, and then this one is a 14. So we're gonna put the spring compressors on as high as we can get them. Take our 14 on our gun, break it loose, just like that. Come back with our pass-through. Nut is off. Top hat's off, spring off, pull the boot out. We'll do that after I get the spring compressors off.
Line up the bottom of your spring.
Yeah, there's a spot right there. Slide this on. We got the bolt that goes through the bottom like this, and then we need the top hat to align with it. So we need to get the spring compressors on in a way that will allow that to stay. So let's see. Okay, so then we can put our nut on. Around town. Ugh. This bolt is aligned with this hole. That's the most important thing. So now we're gonna take these spring compressors off slowly.
Back to the car.
So a key indicator is having the Whiteline logo face you. All right, I'm pushing the sway bar end link through. So then take the black bolt, now twist it with your wrist, you can see. There you go, cool. Now this one you're gonna pull down. No, it went through like this. Good. Here's your 14. Do the reverse of taking it off. And 17. And 17. Now we just need to lower it and get the top. Now we just need to, without losing these, snug. Good. Toss our mats back in there. Now that your car is low, you might be thinking about some wheels and tires. If you want to check out what we put on the car and all the details, I'm going to have this video right here where we talk about these new RSR 1552 wheels and the tire specs and everything else like that to go with it. We'll see you over there.